Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. You know, sometimes the market throws us a curveball, and we're left scratching our heads.
Hmm.
That's what's happening with Enphase Energy,
Oh, yeah.
ticker symbol ENPH.
I've heard of them.
Their recent performance has been a bit of a roller coaster,
Yeah.
and a lot of you are wondering, hold or fold?
Tough questions.
We've got earnings reports, analyst chatter, even some technical analysis to help us make sense of it all.
Sounds like a good plan.
Right. Let's start with the good news.
Okay.
Enphase just blew past Q4 2024 earnings expectations.
Oh,
We're talking $1.3 billion in revenue
really?
and earnings per share of 76 cents,
That's amazing.
which is a whopping 15% higher than analysts predicted.
That's huge.
No wonder the stock initially jumped over 7% after the news hit, reaching $65.27.
Wow.
Enphase has really carved out a dominant position in the microinverter market,
Yeah, they have.
and their move into energy storage is a brilliant strategic play.
I think so, too.
Think about it. Energy storage tackles one of the biggest challenges for solar,
Uh-huh.
which is that pesky reliance on sunshine.
That's true.
If Enphase can nail affordable and reliable energy storage,
Yeah.
they could be looking at a massive growth spurt.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so that's the sunshine and rainbows part of the story.
Right.
But then we get those analyst downgrades for 2025.
Oh.
Revenue projections are now down to $1.55 billion.
Okay.
Still a 16% jump from the previous year,
Uh-huh.
but not as rosy as initially thought.
Right.
And earnings per share are expected to be around $1.88.
Okay.
Not terrible, but definitely a bit of a damper.
Yeah, that's true.
It is important to remember that the solar industry is still in its early stages,
I agree.
and it's sensitive to things like government policies
Yeah.
and technological breakthroughs.
Absolutely.
There's bound to be some volatility along the way.
Definitely.
And to add fuel to the fire, some big names like Bank of America,
Okay.
Roth MKM,
Mm.
Susquehanna, and BMO Capital have all lowered their price targets for Enphase.
Oh, wow.
It's enough to make even the most seasoned investor a little jittery.
I bet.
It's tempting to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
Okay. But let's not forget the other side of the coin.
Sure.
You have institutions like Oppenheimer actually increasing their price target to $103, and Canaccord upgrading their rating to a buy.
Interesting.
It's not a unanimous chorus of doom and gloom.
Good point.
Okay, so we've got this tug of war between positive earnings and some less than stellar predictions.
Uh-huh.
For those of us trying to decide what to do with our Enphase stock,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway here?
Well, it boils down to understanding the forces at play.
Okay.
We've got the Q4 earnings beat, but those analyst downgrades are definitely giving some investors pause.
Right.
And then there's the Q1 2025 revenue guidance.
Oh, yeah?
They're estimating between $340 million and $380 million US dollars. But here's the catch.
What's that?
That figure includes $50 million of what they call safe harbor revenue. Safe harbor. Think of it as a cushion. Revenue they're pretty confident about, but not completely guaranteed.
I see.
It's something to keep in mind when you're evaluating their projections.
So kind of like a built-in margin of error.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
But there's more to the story, right?
there is.
What about those whispers in the options market?
Ah, yes, the options market. Lay it on us. It's like a window into the collective psyche of traders. What we're seeing with Enphase is a trend towards more put options being traded.
Put options.
That signals that some traders are betting on the price going down.
Interesting.
Not exactly a vote of confidence, but it's another piece of the puzzle.
Lots of moving parts.
Right.
So before we jump to any conclusions,
Okay.
let's consult our trusty friend technical analysis.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes the charts can reveal trends that the headlines miss. What are the numbers telling us about ENPH?
Well, as of February 3rd, 2025, Enphase is trading at $62.28. Interestingly, the stock has been on a pretty steady upward climb since way back in March 2012.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is.
So long-term things look good.
Long-term, the trajectory is positive,
Okay.
but the short-term picture might give us a little pause.
What do you mean?
If we look at the 50-day and 200-day simple moving averages,
Okay.
or SMAs,
That's nice.
we notice something interesting.
Okay.
The 50-day SMA shows us the average closing price for the past 50 days.
Got it.
And the 200-day SMA does the same for the past 200 days.
Yeah.
Think of them as trend lines that help us smooth out the daily ups and downs.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And why are those significant here?
Well, Enphase is currently trading below both its 50-day SMA, which is at $68.93, and its 200-day SMA, which is even higher at $97.05.
Wow.
That suggests we might be looking at a bearish trend in the short to medium term. It's like those SMAs are flashing a yellow caution light.
Okay, a little bit of a speed bump, but not necessarily a roadblock, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Let's keep exploring.
So,
Another indicator we can look at is the 14-day RSI,
Hmm.
or Relative Strength Index.
RSI?
It measures the magnitude of recent price changes
Okay.
and tells us whether a stock is overbought or oversold.
I see.
Right now, Enphase's RSI is 48.87.
So what does that mean in plain English?
It means the stock is neither overbought nor oversold.
Okay.
It's kind of hanging out in the middle ground,
Got it.
neither a screaming buy nor a desperate sell.
All right, so neutral territory.
Pretty much.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What about price volatility? How
Okay.
bumpy has the ride been lately?
Over the last 30 days, Enphase has had a price volatility of 6.02%. That indicates moderate fluctuations.
Right.
Not a wild roller coaster, but not a smooth glide either.
Right.
Finally, we can look at the number of green days in the last 30 days.
Green days.
Days where the stock closed higher than the previous day.
Okay.
So how many green days has Enphase had?
I don't know. You tell me.
13 out of the last 30? About 43%.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not overwhelmingly positive, but also not a disaster.
Right.
All right, so we've crunched the numbers,
We have.
looked at the analyst opinions,
Yep.
and consulted the charts.
We did.
It's decision time.
Okay.
Hold or fold with Enphase.
That's the million-dollar question. Let's synthesize all this information.
All right, let's go.
On one hand, Enphase has solid fundamentals.
Okay.
They're a leader in the microinverter space, and that expansion into energy storage is a really smart move.
Right.
The renewable energy market as a whole has strong long-term prospects.
Yeah, I agree.
So they're well-positioned for future growth.
So a point for hold.
Hmm.
But what about those analyst downgrades and the slightly bearish technical indicators?
Right.
Those can't be ignored, right?
They definitely warrant consideration,
Okay.
and they do inject a note of caution. But remember, analyst opinions are just that, opinions.
True.
They can be influenced by a whole host of factors.
I see.
And they're not always on the mark.
Fair.
And technical indicators, while useful, aren't crystal balls.
Yeah.
They provide insights,
Uh-huh.
but they don't guarantee future performance.
So where does that leave us?
It leaves us with the hold recommendation.
Yep.
But with a caveat.
Hmm.
This is a stock, for those of you with a higher risk tolerance,
All right.
you need to be prepared for some potential short-term volatility.
Fair enough. So for those holding on to their Enphase shares, what should they be watching closely in the coming months?
The key things to keep an eye on are revenue growth, margin improvement, and any significant shifts in the broader solar energy landscape. New government policies or big technological advancements could have a major impact on the industry.
Good points.
Yeah.
Well, folks, I think we've done a pretty thorough job of unpacking Enphase Energy today.
We've explored a lot of angles.
We have. And while we don't have a crystal ball, I think we've given you the information you need to make a more informed decision about this stock.
I hope so.
As always, do your own research and maybe chat with your financial advisor before making any moves.
Absolutely. Informed decisions are the best decisions.
You got to... Now, this is where I get nosy. I want to hear from you, our listeners.
Okay.
How much weight do you personally give to analyst opinions versus your own gut feeling about a company?
That's a good question.
Hit us up in the comments. We love hearing your thoughts.
And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to Investing Talk Podcast and share this episode with anyone who might be interested in Enphase Energy or the solar sector in general.
Until next time, happy investing.
Bye, everybody. It's funny, we talk about these analysts and how much weight we give their opinions.
It's true. You see a big name like Bank of America or Roth MKM making a call, and it's easy to just take their word for it.
Yeah, you think, oh, they're the experts. They must know what they're talking about.
Right, but then you see all these downgrades and upgrades, and it's like...
It's confusing.
Yeah, how do we know who to trust?
Well, you have to remember, they're just offering opinions, not guarantees.
Right.
And those opinions can be swayed by all sorts of things.
Like what?
Well, an analyst might have a bias towards a certain industry or a particular investing strategy.
Okay.
Or maybe their firm is pushing them to issue a specific type of rating.
I see.
There's also the whole issue of potential conflicts of interest.
Oh, yeah.
What if an analyst has a financial stake in the company they're covering?
That would definitely make things a little less objective.
Exactly.
So how can we, the everyday investors,
Rory.
avoid getting caught up in all that noise
Yeah.
and make smart decisions?
Well, I think critical thinking is key.
Okay.
We need to learn to question the assumptions behind those analyst opinions and really dig into the data.
So do your homework.
Absolutely don't just blindly follow the herd.
Right.
Do your own research and come to your own conclusion.
Be your own investing detective.
I like that.
It's easy to get intimidated by all the financial jargon and complex analysis.
I know what you mean.
But at the end of the day, investing is about understanding a company's business model.
Yeah.
Its competition and its potential for growth.
Absolutely. Those are the fundamentals that really matter.
And speaking of fundamentals,
Okay.
let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the bigger picture.
Sure.
The trends shaping the solar energy sector. We've touched on its potential,
Right.
but it's got its challenges too.
It does.
Yeah, solar still feels like the new kid on the block in a lot of ways.
I agree.
What are some of the biggest hurdles it's facing?
Well, one of the biggest is cost.
Oh yeah, of course.
Even though the price of solar panels has dropped dramatically in recent years, solar energy isn't always competitive with those old school energy sources like coal and natural gas.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Especially in places where government subsidies for renewables are scarce or non-existent.
Right.
Another big challenge is the intermittent nature of solar power.
Oh, that's a good point.
The sun doesn't shine 24/7.
Unfortunately not.
So we need to figure out better ways to store and distribute solar energy so it's available on demand.
Rain or shine.
Exactly.
That's where the whole energy storage revolution comes in.
Right.
Companies like Enphase are going all in on battery technology and smart grid solutions.
Yeah, they're really trying to tackle that intermittency problem.
If they can crack the code on affordable and efficient energy storage, it could be a game changer for the whole solar industry.
I think so too.
Imagine a world where we can harness the power of the sun and store it up for whenever we need it.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That's the holy grail.
It really is.
It's exciting to think about the potential impact not just for investors, but for the planet as a whole.
Definitely.
But even with all this promise, we have to acknowledge that investing in the solar sector comes with its fair share of risks.
Of course, solar is still a relatively young industry, and there will be winners and losers.
Yeah, that's true.
Some companies will thrive,
Right.
and others will struggle to keep pace with the rapid innovation.
So it's crucial to do your due diligence before jumping into any solar stock, big or small.
Absolutely. Don't just chase the hype.
Right.
Look at the company's fundamentals, understand the technology, and assess the strength of their management team.
That's such a good point. The people at the helm can make or break a company.
They really can.
Let's talk about leadership, because I think it's often overlooked in the investing world.
I couldn't agree more. A strong leadership team is crucial, especially in a dynamic and competitive industry like solar.
Right.
They need to have the vision to anticipate market trends,
Okay.
the agility to adapt to changing conditions,
Yeah.
and the ability to inspire and motivate their teams.
You're talking about those rare individuals who can see the big picture and execute on it, even when the path ahead is full of twists and turns.
Precisely. And when you find a company led by that kind of exceptional team, it can be a really strong indicator of future success.
Well, speaking of exceptional leaders, let's circle back to Enphase and talk about their CEO, Badri Kokandaraman.
Badri.
He seems to have a bit of a rock star reputation in the solar world.
He does. Badri has been leading Enphase since 2017, and he's widely credited with turning the company around.
Wow.
Taking it from a struggling microinverter manufacturer to a global leader in solar solutions.
That's impressive.
He's been called a visionary, a disruptor, even a bit of a maverick.
Those are some pretty impressive labels.
They are, and they're not entirely undeserved.
So he's the real deal.
I think so. Badri is known for being bold, unconventional, and not afraid to take risks.
Like what?
Well, for example, under his leadership, Enphase made significant investments in software and energy storage, which some analysts saw as a risky move away from their core focus.
Interesting. So he wasn't afraid to shake things up a bit.
Not at all, but those bets seem to be paying off now.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Enphase energy storage systems are gaining traction, and their software platform is becoming increasingly sophisticated.
So it seems like he had the foresight to see where the industry was headed.
Exactly. And that speaks volumes about his vision and his ability to execute a strategy.
Yeah, he's not just a dreamer, he's a doer.
Right. He's not afraid to push the boundaries.
So let's recap.
Okay.
Enphase has strong financials,
Uh-huh.
a growing market,
Yep.
a visionary CEO.
Right.
It sounds like they're ticking all the boxes.
They're looking pretty good.
Are there any red flags we should be aware of?
Well, as we discussed earlier, there are always risks involved.
Of course.
The solar industry can be quite volatile,
Right.
and Enphase faces stiff competition from some major players in the energy space.
So it's not all smooth sailing.
Not exactly, but Enphase also has a proven track record of innovation and adaptability.
That's true. They've consistently surpassed analyst expectations,
They have.
which shows a certain level of resilience and strategic thinking.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like Enphase is a company with a lot of upside potential, but also a degree of risk that investors need to be comfortable with.
I think that's a fair assessment. It's not a stock for the faint of heart,
Right.
but for those who are willing to ride out the inevitable ups and downs, it could be a very rewarding long-term investment.
So are you sticking with your hold recommendation?
I am, but remember, always do your own research.
Right.
Weigh the risks and rewards carefully
Okay.
and make a decision that aligns with your personal investment goals.
Sound advice. We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
From Enphase's financials and technology
Uh,
to their leadership and their place in the ever-evolving renewable energy market.
it's a fascinating company in a fascinating industry.
And hopefully we've given you some valuable insights to help you make more informed decisions.
I hope so. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to investing.
Absolutely. The more you know, the better equipped you are to navigate the complex world of finance.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, before we wrap things up,
Okay.
I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder.
Oh, I love these. Let's hear it.
If you had to pick just one metric to evaluate a company's long-term potential, what would it be and why?
That's a great question. It's tough to choose just one. That's a great question. It's tough to choose just one, but for me, I think it would have to be the strength and sustainability of their competitive advantage, or what some people call their moat.
Ooh, their moat.
Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Well,
Tell me more.
So think of it like this. A company with a wide moat is harder for competitors to attack and take market share from. It could be a unique technology, a powerful brand, a network effect, or even just a really efficient operation.
I see.
The wider the moat, the more sustainable their profits and future growth are likely to be.
So it's not just about what they're doing today,
Right.
but how well they can defend their position in the years to come.
Exactly. A company can have a fantastic product and a stellar quarter.
Yeah.
But if their competitive advantage is weak, they're vulnerable to being overtaken by rivals or disrupted by new innovations.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. So when you're evaluating a potential investment, ask yourself, what sets this company apart?
Okay.
What makes them unique and difficult to copy?
Good question.
If you can identify a durable competitive advantage,
Yeah.
it's a strong signal that they're built for long-term success.
Great insight. I'll definitely be keeping that moat analogy in mind as I research companies.
I think it's a helpful one.
Well, folks, I think that about wraps up our look at Enphase Energy today on Investing Talk Podcast.
It's been a great discussion.
We've explored their financials, their technology, their leadership, and their position in the dynamic world of renewable energy.
Lots to think about.
Hopefully you found this discussion informative and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
I hope so too.
Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to investing.
Absolutely.
We always encourage our listeners to do their own research and make decisions that align with their own financial goals.
Couldn't agree more.
If you have any thoughts or questions about Enphase Energy or any other investment topics you'd like us to tackle, please drop us a comment below.
We love hearing from you. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Investing Talk Podcast and share this episode with your friends and family.
You might just inspire the next generation of savvy investors. Until next time, happy investing.